Hi, I'm Beej. Let's talk about some cannabis nerd stuff. You've probably seen CBD and you've probably seen something like Delta-9 THC. Well, Delta-9 is what we call an isolate of THC. And to explain this even further, I've built another graph. This one is called Beej's Cannabinoid Isolate Production Chart. If you take a look at the top, there's CBG. I talked about this in my last short. That's the mother cannabinoid. That means that this molecule starts as CBG, and as it breaks down due to natural processes like heat, light, oxygen, and time, it can become something like CBD, or it can become something like THC. As THC sits just naturally from heat, light, oxygen, and time, it can break down into Delta-9 THC, which is a isolate, a smaller part of the THC molecule. It can also degrade down to CBN, which is another cannabinoid that I talked about. Those happen naturally, but there are other isolates that you've likely heard of, and these come through an artificial means. So you can take hemp-derived CBD and you can put it through several different processes, and within that process, you can make Delta-9 THC or Delta-8 THC. I'm not gonna get into the difference chemically, how that's different. We'll talk about that later. But something to know is that CBD and THC are very close to the same molecule. In fact, there's just one change in one of the hydrogen bonds that make them different from one another. Other than that, they're almost identical. So that means you can put CBD under a process and you can force it to become a version of THC. Most of the time, this is done by taking the CBD and then adding an acid and a heat to it, or using something like zeolite and heat to convert it, and then dissolve it in methanol. And then you can take that methanol and put it through a process where you vary the pressure and the heat, and you get Delta-8, Delta-9, Delta-10, THCO, THCP, and then there's two more in the end that are incredibly interesting. That's HHCO and HHC. These are forms of THC that have been hydrogenated so that they are incredibly shelf stable until they're broken again. If you sat through all of this and you're like, yes, I want to be part of the cannabis nerd journey, subscribe and like, please. I've been Beej, and this is Cannabis with Beej.